Hey, welcome to another episode of Live with the Native Guy. That's me. I am your host, the Native Guy. We thank you for joining us. We are live on the YouTube channel, streaming on the Radio Native broadcast here from TP Studio One. That's right. We are here in our home studio. Hopefully you see behind me what's going on. We have our screen going on, and I'm supposed to give you some different colors. Maybe you can see some of that. But as we get moving today, we're going to play a video to start us out. We're going to show you some different things that are going on here in Studio TP1. You know, yesterday we had some issues getting some of the things that we were trying to do going live and going streaming for you. But we want you to know that you can always, as you can see right above my head, that you can always follow, subscribe, advertise, and you can become a sponsor. And you can have your inquiries answered at nativebroadcastnetwork@gmail.com. That's right. This is a live stream, folks. So get your friends, go share this with other people. Hopefully you can hear me online as well. We're going to do some different things with the radio player. We're also going to do some different things with our YouTube videos. We've got a video. Hey, we've been working with some of these different ones with our program. And as we get our morning drive going, we want to get some of the music we've been listening to, some of the different ones we've been interacting with. Hopefully we can get them some airplay. We can get them some advertisement. We can get you to understand how great some of these are. So we want to get you a video of one great group of rappers here, Native Indigenous rappers, as well as the different rappers from the hip hop R&B artist scene. His name is Underdog. He's featured Stinjati in this video, and in this video it's called Oklahoma Shit. We're going to give you an opportunity to take a look at this as we are here live with the Native Guy. We want to get your Native Broadcast Network going. We want to show you what we can do. We want to give you this right here. Enjoy.
You don't even feel like a job when you're doing it. It just, you want to make sure you're taking care of your family and they got smiles on their face.
Zero and fifth, Oklahoma shit. 918 represent Oklahoma shit. 580, yeah, slick, Oklahoma shit. 539, what it is, Oklahoma shit. I'm from that 40 and fifth, Oklahoma shit. 918 represent Oklahoma shit. 580, yeah, slick, Oklahoma shit. 539, what it is, Oklahoma shit. My pops grew up in Garden Oaks, my mama from the sticks. They came together and they made this Oklahoma shit. She liked the way I talk. My Oklahoma trip product of my environment. Just look what Oklahoma. We gave you Godfrey Wood, we gave you Brad Pitt and Matt Kim. Uncle Charlie might just have to put a verse on this. Had the thunder for 4 years and they went to the ship. Take a sip and let me talk my Oklahoma shit. Underdog, I let you know the state of mind. Biggest casino in the world, I got a chance to win. And I'ma bet it all before I roll the dice. Cause holding back might cost me more, don't wanna hold it back at all. I gotta do it, boomer sooner, I can't wait for later. Cowboys, pistols firing, and my guns are blazing. I got lions and Langston, and always I say, and my say is the greatest. So right here what I'm saying, I'm from that 40 and 5th, Oklahoma shit. 918 represent Oklahoma shit. 580, yeah, slick, Oklahoma shit. 539, what it is, Oklahoma shit.
I'm from that reservation life, Oklahoma shit. 918 represent Oklahoma shit. 405, yeah, it's slick, Oklahoma shit. Native life, what it is, Oklahoma shit. Clean pool, 3 cones, I was raised in one of those. Raised shoes, raised hat, went to school with resty clothes. Grew up hella rough, but fuck it, that's just how we go. I-75 as we're moving through the red state. Big rims flicking, reflections off the candy paint. Learn how to hustle, just watching all these heavyweights. I'm from the aunties in the kitchen, smell like wild onions, eggs, fried bread, soft get dipping, slipping through the red. Natives round here grilled out with beaded chains. In and out the toaster like the drillers or a boiler game or something like the thunder boy. I show up hella sooner. I'm a daddy opponent boy, Johnny outside loser. Oklahoma native, legendary, raised in the pavement. Oklahoma medical, we sit back with blazing. Underdog after lit track, it's amazing. I'm from that reservation life, Oklahoma shit. 918 represent, Oklahoma shit. 405, yeah, it's lit, Oklahoma shit. Native life, what it is, Oklahoma shit. I'm from that 40 and 5th, Oklahoma shit. 918 represent, Oklahoma shit. 580, yes, lit, Oklahoma shit. 539, what it is,
Oklahoma shit. You already know, man. This is the new remix to his Oklahoma shit. He gave love when he blessed the track. So that's
ECBO started as my college project.
Wait, child, that was some Oklahoma shit there. As you started to hear and see, we got an ad going on for you. We're going to get you. There you go. There's me. I'm back on the camera. Hey, we're going to move right on over here to the center stage. We appreciate you. That was Underdog with some Oklahoma shit. That was a great video. We seen that as it was live with the native guy the other day. Hey, we hoping you're enjoying some live with the native guy. We got some great music. We've got some great things going on. Matter of fact, we're going to keep it rolling. This is one we had on the other day. It's called Indian Car. Enjoy. Maybe you'll see it, maybe you don't. We're going to get it right back on the stage. And we're going to get you going right there. As you can see, Indian Car. Here's the sound.
Indian car, to the pound of the wheels drumming in my brain. My dash is dusty, my plates are expired. Please, Mr. Officer, let me explain. I got to make it to a powwow tonight. I'll be singing 49 down by the riverside, looking for sugar, riding in my Indian car. Got my T-bird in the glove box, I ain't got no spare. Got a feather from an eagle, I ain't got no care. The road is empty and my bottle of desire. Daylight is breaking, the sun touches fire. I got to make another powwow tonight. I'll be singing 49 down by the riverside, looking for sugar, riding in my Indian car.
You're listening to the Morning Drive with the native guy, Richard.
Car is dented, the radiator steams. One headlight don't work, the radio can scream. I got a sticker that says Indian Power. I stuck it on a bumper, that's what holds my car together. We're on the circuit of an Indian dream. We don't get old, we just get younger. When we're flying down the highway, riding in our Indian car. On the circuit of an Indian breed. We don't get old, we just get younger. When we're flying down the highway, riding in our Indian car. Riding in our Indian car. Riding in our Indian car.
Hey, child, that was a good one by Keith Secola. Live driving in my Indian car. That's how it goes sometimes in your Indian car and you're driving around. You know, we're going to play this one because we want you to know that this is some serious stuff that happens when this happens. That I said it twice. But, you know, when you ain't got no fry bread, it kind of gets upset. It gets upsetting. So we're going to play you this one and let you know when there ain't no fry bread when she's gone.
Ain't no fry bread when she's gone.
And we're going to get you on there.
The kitchen's cold when she's away. 'Cause ain't no fry bread when she's gone. 'Cause her fry bread is the bomb. Wish she wouldn't go away. Wonder this time where she's gone. Making bread some other place. 'Cause ain't no fry bread when she's gone. Making bread for some dude named Ron. I wish she wouldn't go away. And I know, hey, I leave her door alone, 'cause ain't no fry bread when she's gone. Ain't no fry bread when she's gone. Only white bread every day. There ain't no fry bread when she's gone. 'Cause her fry bread is the bomb. Wish she wouldn't go away. Wish she wouldn't go away. Wish she wouldn't go away.
Wait, y'all. That's some Ain't No Fry Bread When She's Gone. That is the great video. I don't know who made that video, but it is a good one. That video is by Unc Apps. It's got 55. It was come out 4 years ago. That only has 10,000 plays. So you go out and y'all go visit that programming there and check it out. That is Ain't No Fry Bread When She's Gone. What a way to start the day. Hey, you know what? We had another one that was, we're on the fry bread trail, so we're going to go with this one because that's what we tried to play yesterday on the air. We couldn't get it, but we're going to try to play it another time like this time. We're going to play it right now. Here you go. This is Punkin Lefty.
Baby girl, hey, yeah. Why she acting all ready? Hot than the pan of fried bread grease. Half of the native 50 power beats. Got your auntie in the kitchen like, nah, he didn't. He got a grandma skinny like she got the kid back. Any TP creeping on your booty cheeks. You be singing and you ready like who the freaks? Salty in the burner, hold the head turner. Put water, baby powder, chopping up that white stuff. White whole purpose flour, gotta mix it right up. Hit the breads with the shit, they easy right up. Greasy fried bread, greasy fried bread.
Sweat dripping down the face from the stove top.
Greasy fried bread, greasy fried bread.
Let it go, get it back to the grease pump.
Greasy fried bread, greasy fried bread.
Sweat dripping down the face from the stove top.
Greasy fried bread, greasy fried bread.
Let it go, get it back to the grease pump.
Now watch that grease pump. Do you want your waist straw? She got that bluebird bag in the tank top. She got that white powder all over everything. She got the bustin' man, but we ain't cousins, man. We from the same tribe, but a different clan. She my red bunny, and I'm a red man. She love my tattoos and my two braids. Fried bread money at the creek fest. Getting paid on that. Greasy fried bread, greasy fried bread.
Sweat dripping down the face from the stove top.
Greasy fried bread, greasy fried bread.
Let it go, get it back to the grease pump.
Greasy fried bread,
rockin' stove tops.
Oh, that was Greasy Fry Bread. You can see that now streaming on Hulu. The sounds of Live with the Native Guy. That's me, the Native Guy. I'm on your morning drive here in the TP Studio One. As you can see me, I kind of am on the air, off the air. I have a microphone sitting in front of me. I'm trying to get you there. We are streaming live to the YouTube channel on the Native Broadcast Network. Get the subscribe and share. Go out there and tell them, hey, it's the morning drive with the Native Broadcast Network doing you some native music videos. We're going to try to show you some more powwow feeds, some different ones from different areas. You know what? Some of the coolest things that we have in Indian country is the different tribal dances that we can see all throughout the world. But again, we don't want to always just show that. We want to talk about different topics that are going on here on the Native Broadcast Network, because on the Native Broadcast Network, we're not only here to talk about indigenous topics and music. We want to talk about the things that are going on within our own tribes, within our own Indian country, as we like to call it. And boy, honey, right now in the great state of Oklahoma, where Red TP1 Studio is located, it is a nice cold day out there. Matter of fact, we might give you the native weather report. What does the native weather report consist of? It consists of trying to figure out what the world we got and going on in the weather. But I can look outside and I see snow on the ground. I went outside. So this morning, the Native Guy's weather report is cold in Oklahoma and southwest Oklahoma. It might have a little snow on the ground. That means it's cold. So if you see snow, it's probably cold. That's the weather report from southwest Oklahoma. It's cold. Maybe we get others who come on and tell us what the weather report is in their area, or they can share it within there in the chat feeds of there, Facebook. If you're there on Facebook, give us a shout out. Let us know where you are. Let us know how the weather report is. We'd love to get that. If you are just now getting up, it's a little bit close to 8:40. You should be in school. If you're not in school, you're a little bit late. You might want to get there. The teacher might have something for you to do, or you might have a test. So go take that test. You'll do all right. And if you are on your way to work, 20 minutes to go, you better get moving right now, because rush hour, it looks like it might be, I don't know, it's Lawton, Oklahoma. There's rush hour, there isn't. There might be 3 or 4 cars on the road, and that's rush hour. So anyways, that's how it goes in the Native Broadcast Network. So the good news is we are live with the Native Guy. We're going to talk about different subjects. You know, the other day we were watching some of the NFL. We were trying to figure out what's going on. I haven't watched an NFL game probably in a few years. The last time I watched was when the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not a Chiefs fan, just so you know. They won a Super Bowl apparently, and apparently they're trying to do it again. There's another team that's going to be in the way. But I think this year, if you're looking at it, the team that I'm going to see, if they're the dark horse, is a team called Philadelphia, the Eagles. They're swooping high. They're doing well. It just seems how they might have an opportunity to do something they haven't done in a while since Donovan McNabb was there. I don't know who the other guy was. Michael Vick. No, that's somebody else. That's Atlanta, I think. But anyways, that's the Native Guy Sports Report. There's other sports going on. Matter of fact, if you're a Big 12 follower, you're seeing K-State, the team from Manhattan, Kansas, Little Apple. The Little Apple is what it's called. They're leading the Big 12 right now. Holy moly. And then, you know, the team that everybody wants to catch in the Big 12, them Kansas Jayhawks, they got beat the other day by Baylor. They're on a 3-game losing streak. I think the last time I seen them on a 3-game losing streak was back in the 80s when they lost, and Billy Tubbs and Stacey King and all those cool players back then. Richard Dumas at Oklahoma State. See, I know big country. And then you had the big old guys. See, that's a long time ago in the 90s and the 80s when I was watching those KU teams play. Now I don't even watch them, don't even care for them. But apparently they do pretty good in basketball. If you're a Big 12 fan, you know there's some football that's going on. I mean, again, I'm not into the NFL too much, but I do know a lot of fans around here. They're Dallas people. They kind of got beat out the other day. Things happen. I watched this trick play they tried to do. It was interesting. It didn't work, but it was interesting to kind of get the idea. A lot of people are armchair quarterbacks and, you know, armchair coaches try to figure out, hey, I would have done this. I would have done that. The funny thing is I don't know any of those people who are armchairing who can run a 4.3 40, let alone keep up with a lineman who runs about a 4.9 or a 4.6 40. I don't think they could do it armchairing. You know, if you can't run a 40 at 4.4 or any faster, you're not going to keep up with the quarterback of the people on the field. Just to let you know that. We're going to get to some more music. You know, another good music we had. is I want to play this one. This guy, he's been on our program before. We want to have him on the program soon. His name is Ed Roman. He's out of Canada, and he's got some great music. You know, and he's one of those who I really appreciate when he was on the show and on the program. Matter of fact, we're going to get his video up here in a second. We're going to try to make sure we don't got no sound coming through our microphone when we're playing videos. And, you know, this video we're going to put on the screen is called Happiness. It's by Ed Roman. He's a Canadian artist, songwriter. You need to get a hold of him. You need to check out his music. It's really enjoyable music that we have. And as you see me, I'm going to get them onto the screen. We're going to get everything prepped for our Ed Roman here. And you're going to enjoy this Ed Roman. This video is called Happiness. We'll see you back on Live with the Native Guy. Oh, that was Ed Roman's Happiness. We thank you for joining us online with the Native Guy. That's me. I'm the Native Guy. If you don't know, I am coming from the plains of southwest Oklahoma. I would show you what is going on outside, but basically there's snow on the ground, so apparently it's cold. That's the weather report from the southwest plains of Oklahoma. I see snow on the roof and I see snow on the ground, so I guess it's cold. But here in TP Studio 1, we have our fire stoked up. We got the flaps open, we're letting that smoke out. We might get smoked up, I don't know. We see what's going on. But that was Ed Roman's Happiness. You can find him and visit him through MTS Management. That is a great program. Matter of fact, we're going to get some more stuff from MTS Management. Some of the artists that we have that we enjoy to listen to and share with. You know what? We're going to play up another video for you. It's actually an interview that we had the other day with a great leader here in the state of Oklahoma. She is the one who works with the Women's Warrior project, as well as does other things for the community here of Lawton, Oklahoma, and the indigenous people. But we want to share that video with you so you can kind of enjoy what we kind of talked about on the Native Broadcast Network, and give you some different things and just different topics on what we're trying to do. So as we get this queued up and ready to go, we have a great interview. Her name is Cindy Fumero that you'll see on here. This is one that we produced here in the studio the other day. We got a lot of stuff that we did with the video, so try to get past to some of our audio and editing things that we're trying to do for you. But we want to get this video onto you. It's an interview with Cindy Fumero. Enjoy this one, and we'll be right back with you after this. Enjoy. Maybe not. We'll see. We welcome you to another episode of Live with the Native Guy. Boy, howdy, we hope you've been having a great year this year. We have one of the most prolific guests we've had in a while, our first guest of the year. So this is going to be an awesome interview. Her name is Cindy Fumero. She works for the Office of Disability Concerns as a disability advocate. She's a mother of 7 children, 4 boys and 3 girls. She's originally here from the Lawton, Oklahoma area, but she moved to the West Coast in her early 20s. She and her family moved back here in Lawton to about 2015 from the Bay Area, where she worked at the Friendship House, the Native American Healing Center as a substance abuse use disorder counselor. So today, Ms. Fumero attends Cameron University, where she's president of the Native American Student Association. She's got a majoring in interdisciplinary studies with a major of criminal justice and a minor in psychology. Watch out, she's going to ask a lot of questions. Ms. Fumero works in the community in several ways, and this is some great, profound things that we want to learn a little bit more. She's a founder of the Warrior Women's Society. It's a community-based organization that helps indigenous women with all things that supportive services do not help with. She's also a founding member of the Comanche Academy Indigenous Charter School, a founding member of the Lawton Indigenous Peoples Day. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. A board member of the MMIW Indian Capital, a vice president of state chapter of Missing and Murdered Indigenous People, and president of the Cameron University Native American Student Association. Ooh, busy. Ms. Fumero was awarded Woman of the Year 2019 for the Comanche County by the Mayor's Commission on the Status of Women, and most recently, Parent of the Year from the Oklahoma Council on Indian Education. Very admirable. And she states she's humbled and grateful for the indigenous people that she's encountered, and she seeks to serve all that she has and all that Creator has blessed with. And we are glad that she is willing to sit down with us and speak with us more. Welcome to the show, Cindy. How are you today?
Oh, Matakiapi. Nanani Atsa Cindy Fumero. I am Oglala Sioux and Comanche. I'm just really honored that it seems like so much, but it's really about just time management, organization, and people that are working there. I don't do everything. Sometimes they just say, Cindy, can you do this? And I say, okay, how much time is it going to take out of this day or that day? So I just kind of, you're a good leader when the people around you are the best they can be, and they're better than you. Wow. And so that's all I seek to do. I don't know everything. I don't care to know everything. I only learned how to be a Native woman about 15 years ago. I was never involved.
Not Native women, but a Native man, maybe about that.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome? But I think as long as we just continue, because so many people have lost the history, that I think it's a very, for me, I run into the fact that I do a lot of ceremony myself, because I also pray up in the north. And so because I'm Oglala, I've been given certain things to be able to do. Sun dancing is one of those, and you know, other things that go with that. Around here, you don't do that. Comanche women don't do that, right? Comanche women don't hold feathers.
Iowas generally don't do that either. Well, the men do, but it's other tribes that they do it with. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, when I got home in 2015, you know, there's so much diversity out in the Bay Area. That was one of the places where there was the relocation happened. You know, those natives out there, they don't care what they don't care. You could be your pinky full of whatever, and as long as you're in it to win it and help the cause, they care less. They care not. One of the biggest powwows out in the Bay Area is Stanford Powwow, and that Native American Student Association was basically all light-skinned brothers and sisters. They were not of Native descent, but because they had their heart there, because they wanted to make sure that it didn't die, that's been going on for over 50 years. So I say that to say this: we need diversity here. We need to be right. We need to be inclusive, not exclusive. And when I first got back, and Corn just got back, Cornell Dr. Pee Wee Wardy, we were like, we got to bump into each other, and we were like, just kind of starstruck, because we kind of had the same ideas, but we knew there wasn't a lot of people that could help implement them, because those ideas were from somewhere else. They were from the West Coast, the East Coast, the North, the whatever. They just weren't Comanche, Kiowa, or Apache. And so we knew that we were going to have an uphill battle in bringing some of those ideas. We started with IPD, with Indigenous Peoples Day, because, you know, many of us already knew that. We already knew what Indigenous meant. We already knew that to be a part of who I was in the past meant that I was going to have to recognize what I am today. Wow. So, and understanding that made, you know, it really helped the whole community. The Bay Area really gave me a firm foundation about nationhood, about building nations, about sovereignty, about water and land rights, because there's a lot of things that they're barely just getting back, just like us here. They look to us because we're like Indian territory, right? In all actuality, our people are out there too. And, you know, I love the North Coast natives. They really taught me how to make sacred the water. Like, I had no idea how sacred the water was, right? And then it just kind of fell into my lap. So Indigenous Peoples Day, I think, for us, when we went there, they were not, with the Lawton City Council, they were not having it. They were not feeling it. In fact, if I say his name, Mayor Fitch, Mayor Fitch. He was.
So I don't know who that is, but
okay. Well, I don't
know
too much.
From what I know, and meeting Dr. Cornell, that's a shout out to you, Dr. Q. Where I appreciate him. I first met him in Lawrence, Kansas. He was a professor up there. But I also knew he worked at Portland State for a long time, and what such a great man and inspiration. That's where I actually first met you. That we're on the subject of Indigenous Peoples Day, because I met you in what was called a circle, and it was such a teaching moment that you actually taught me, and that's where what you said. We have to learn. We have to learn these things, and in that circle, you know, I was recording you and I was taking pictures, and instead of getting upset, I remember that, if you can remember that, and I learned that I need to show better respect for these things that I don't understand. And Indigenous Peoples Day, those things that you fought for so hard, those are the things why we want to share our culture, like you brought out. That's important for everyone. Wouldn't you agree?
During that time, I was being persecuted. My character was being persecuted for doing the things that I do. And that was the first talking circle that I had been asked to lead in some time. And I don't know what the format was that Corn said, but Corn, you know, I was like, okay, when people are in a talking circle, that circle is the strength of all the people, and it's sacred. And for I didn't know that he said that you guys could do that, right? So I was like, I felt bad after the fact, because I knew you were just trying to do what Corn said to do or allowed you to do. But I knew also that if we don't say that, I would have been affected. I should have said that, because that was a teaching moment. And I thank you for that. Oh my gosh, you don't even know. I felt
And for
that.
me, that was a teaching moment because I learned something in that circle. And you said some powerful words because, during that time I had political aspirations and I don't worry about that. But you said some words that, as someone wanting to be a leader, the powerful statement that you made about how I spoke and everything like that, those affect me. And it made me think about how leadership should be, why we should be, and learning in that circle how you corrected that takes leadership, and to be able to humble ourselves when we need to be taught. Because one of the things about our different societies, as you say, you're Comanche and Lakota, I'm Kiowa, and so our tribes we might have similar things that we do, but we are very different culturally, language wise, things that we believe in, how we take responsibility for this earth that
Mhm.
we have. So for me, at that Indigenous Peoples Day, that's why those kind of things that you guys fought for, it wasn't easy, right? Getting it. You said 2017. It was an uphill battle, correct?
Yeah, it was. They wanted, okay, so weeks before it was actually 701 enacted, they decided, yeah, we'll give it to you on Black Friday.
Mm.
And we were like, what? No, 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 we're not. And Dr. Peabody could not make that actual council. So Martina Minthorn got up and said, no, 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 no. I was not aware that um, he wasn't going to be there. So, and we had a packed auditorium, and there's, yeah, we'll do it. We'll certainly do it on Black Friday, but we're not changing Columbus Day. That's just not what we're doing. So the very next time we packed it even with AIM, with all the MMIW groups, with Warrior Women's Society, with drums, we brought, flags, we brought everything. And it only took a couple of beats of that drum for
Wow.
Mayor Fitch to say, stop, stop, stop. Okay, give them what they want. Fine. He was the one holdout though.
Wow.
And it was really crazy because why? Why?
That's what
Why?
I was going to ask because the community we're in, for me, it's pretty diverse. We know it's a military city, so there's a lot of people from different backgrounds come here, but also other countries who train here. But for me in this area, it was eye opening because there's more than just Comanches and Kiowas here. There's other neighboring tribes that are throughout the community, and so doing those kind of things, how this city is able to be that way for so long and hold out for these things, for advocates such as you and Dr. Cornell and those in this community to bring this awareness, Indigenous people say doing those things, it, like I say, we mentioned earlier, it was a struggle. It was hard. The mayor didn't. It took a while. Again, it was a battle, from what I know.
Yes, it was. It was definitely difficult. And he wasn't, it wasn't just that. We're talking about the colonial system. And, when we talk about Sheridan, right? Well, who was Sheridan? If you remember who the Sheridan was, he was a Comanche Apache killer. He was one bringing them in. There's different names that this place, our land, that has, we no longer have, names or associations with our roots, although our blood has been spilt on all these grounds. Lawton High was given to them for Lawton High to be built for $1 a year. They
Wow.
leased it. And then the superintendent, Dr. Deegan, when we were having some good success with the superintendent of Lawton, he was going to lease us Taft, build the Taft School for Comanche Academy for $1 a year as well. Reversing that good faith, and that was shot down, and they had to buy the building, which put them into dire straits money wise. So we get there, and then we get to the edge, and we put our hand out in good faith, and then what happens? And we can't be resentful at that. It's kind of like they don't know, but they do know, but they don't know, right? They've never sat in our circles. They've never sat in our ceremonies. They've never eaten our food in a way. They've never understood what we are as people, maybe individually, maybe individually, but not like for you. I've seen you campaign. I've seen the heart that you have. I was like, who is this guy? Who is he? We need him. We need him on our team. Who is, man, you had my heart beating because of your love for your people. I hadn't seen that in so very long. I was like, Cornell, who is that? You never introduced me. You're kind of one.
Because the one thing you'll learn about me, Cindy, is I don't hold my tongue back, and I guess that's kind of a good and a bad thing. And Dr. Cornell sometimes he gets some in front of my bad side, and it's just the understanding and the passion. Because you're right, I am very passionate about not only the Kiowa people but this land. We share this land with our brothers, our Comanche and our Apache people, but we have neighboring tribes, Delaware, Caddo, Wichitaws. We have over to the east of us, we have the Choctaws, and then going up to the north of us, far past the Wichita, we have the Cheyennes, and there. So we have to understand what's going on in Indian country. We have to be able to pull together, and for me, listening to the stories, being in these circles, and learning about what great passion that others have. Because again, I didn't know the passion that others had. Sometimes I feel alone in this battle, and maybe you feel that too, that I'm alone. But when we find those like people who've been through, unfortunate circumstances, we'll just put it that way, because life is difficult for many of us, and no matter what has happened in the past, it's how we rise up. As indigenous people, we can all reflect on some of the hardest things, as Kiowa people. If we know our history well, Fort Sill is the base that is here because of one purpose: the annihilation of the KCA people. People here, when you go in this community and you have this vast knowledge to share with them, it gives them a different perspective of what the indigenous people here know. And for me, I find out that a lot of people just aren't taught these things, and we need to be more vocal. And for me, Indigenous Peoples Day and being able to be in the community, being able to be that voice, that's what we need. And that's why I'm glad to, sit down with you and visit with you, because I've always wanted to hear about these things, because, we want to talk about the Indigenous, but what about the Warrior Woman Society and that but in this Comanche Academy, these things that you've helped grow in the community, the concern for your people, those are what we need, because we got to be advocating for each other, because these are the voices that some of us, we want to speak up, but we don't know how. And for me, I find passion that you're able and teach us, because we need to be able to be teachers. That's the key.
Yes, Warrior Women Society started in 2018 as well. It started because we couldn't get through any of the muck with getting services for some women. You could be accepted over to the women's shelter at the Comanche Nation or to any other, but they won't come get you. You could be in this city, they won't come get you. You could be in a domestic violence situation and have a bed 40 miles away and not be able to get there, and they won't hold it. So it's like, okay, so we need somebody to go at 4 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, and get this person and go take them to the shelter. And there was no service. There's still no services like that, right? You suffer. And that's why the MMIW movement became to the top. It started showing what really was happening, because as we were only one, we were probably about, there's probably maybe 15 women in the group, and we are just, as we go, as somebody calls, as somebody needs, but we'll take women to treatment. We'll take women to pick them up on the side of the road and get them somewhere safe, which also we do not have any safe houses, which is something else I'm working on. Meaning, if there's something if somebody's coming out of detox, they were in a domestic violence situation. This happened just last weekend. A lady came out of detox, and she still doesn't have a place to go till the 23rd, where she has a residential bed in a facility up in Ada. So now what does she do? She can't go back to the husband. Well, she's back with the husband. And that's because she has no place to go. That's the only comfort that she knows. She's got a roof over her head. she's got food, and she just has to hopefully make it. Can you imagine our women are at risk, at such a high risk?
I can't imagine that because it's just, even children, the children are part of this. We know locally we've had some bad news, some things that have been happening, and just hearing that, it's heartbreaking. And to have advocates, we got to do better in supporting and speaking up. And that's why I wanted to help and have this discussion, talk about these things, because the things that I done when I was back campaigning and all these things, there's just so much information that's out there, and in the Native American community, our communities alone, there's so many things that we just aren't talking about. These topics, like you're bringing up, the MMIW, that's something, you know, it's been brought here up lately, and more chapters like locally are starting to bring this awareness. What are some numbers that you might know offhand or anything? Because this is a big concern. And I do know it started several years ago as well. And being a responsibility and advocate for that, what are some ways that we can help spread more awareness about this very important subject that is plaguing every tribe and all sorts of people today?
Yes, you know, the worst, when the saying goes that when the heart of the woman is on the floor, then you've lost your tribe, you've lost the connection to what you were called, Mother Earth. And so we have to pick that back up. The numbers that I would say, one year, just this 1 year from today going backwards, right? There was 24 people that either were missing. Well, I've got them here on my wall. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I have on my wall that were murdered. And some of them we know what happened, and some of them we don't. And then those are just Comanches. Kiowas have a great number too. And MMIW Indian Capital does a wonderful job. So does Fawn. Fawn at Kiowa MMIP does a superb job bringing awareness, being at vigils, making flyers. What happens when somebody goes, and we find people where others would not? The OSBI wouldn't, local police won't. You can't even trust any narco police. You can't trust many police. So we
smaller towns, I've kind of found that as a powerful statement, because when you bring that up, because the numbers that I did and the not murder rates, but some of the issues, and that probably leads to it, because I know Caddo County is one of the top 25 counties in the state for opioids and suicide abuse. They're up there, and Comanche County is far behind. And these are things that people, if you do your research, these affect our tribes too, because on these tribal lands, there's different jurisdictions, and there's some reasons why they're not reported, because they're not looking on these lands. Is that a possibility too for some of these that go unsolved?
Absolutely. And you know, the bureaucracy and the jurisdiction has always been an issue. Well, that's an Indian problem, so let the Indians take care of it, and the feds. We don't have to do much. And you know what? Let's be honest. Officers, police were the first people to be racist. They were put together to keep the slaves in check because the laws were letting them free.
Yeah.
So who are we?
Yeah, that is a statement, and I don't know if you've read that book by Kendi Ibrahim. It's a book that talks about slavery. Now it's just basically profit. That's how I.
It is profit, because we have the highest incarceration rate as well. We're the lowest education, highest incarceration. Our children are lined up, predetermining for them what they're going to do in prison. They're lined up, they're given numbers, they're put in rows, they have to walk behind with their hands on their back. That's what our school systems do. And you know, as far as why we wanted Comanche Academy, was we wanted Indigenous centered. We chose Comanche centered, but that was just based on, you know, they just jumped up and said, yeah, we'll do it. But I would like to see it go into an Indigenous charter school. I'd like to see the Kiowas bring in, you know, their people, their language. I would like to see the Dakota, the Delaware. You know, we have 39 tribes here. I guarantee you that there was children there that were Alaskan, Aleut. They were, you know what I mean? And Comanche. well, we need that here. We need to know what their culture, what their home stories were, what their when in the winter, what did you do? How did you do it? You know, the education is centered, even though it has to meet certain criteria for the state. Our teachers are supposed to be unlearning their colonial education and relearning how to be indigenous. And they're doing that. It's just a slow process. And then they're adding language. So it's a hard uphill battle, but I can tell you what, by fifth grade, we're going to have people, little guys, that are going to be more fluent in Comanche language than a lot of people. I haven't heard Kiowas or I've heard a lot of the Kiowa language spoken, but I don't hear a lot of the Comanche language. Just when you're passing in conversations, whatever. So we're really looking to do that kind of stuff.
And that's for me too. I'm glad you said that. I mean, the Kiowa language for me, I've been around it, but we don't have a lot of people speaking it. And right now, there's a lot of us who are and different ones that I know they're trying really hard to save, and we're trying to come together to get this language. But the Comanche language, I've heard some good news from that academy and how you've got different. I've heard different ones who are basically, helping learn and save this language. The different powwows, you hear the progress that some of these students are making. And I've seen one of your teachers recently getting a master's degree and everything. So again, there's a lot of good things going on at what you're doing with the Comanches. And I agree with you. I wish the Kiowas, we just kind of got to model and look and benchmark these things. Because, me, my background is in business. So looking at how other things are how schools are working, what they're doing, how they're adjusting and working it for their economies. For me, I commend how the Comanches have really kind of stabilized their economy, because the Kiowas were almost there. We're almost there. But it's going to take a little bit more for us. And again, it's looking at the examples, because again, being able to be one of the founding members of the Comanche Academy and building, that's education. That's where it starts. That's where we have to rebuild our society. We have to, like you said, we got to decolonize and re-educate who we are as people, because our culture, that's part of who we are, and it's in our language. That's the one thing that I know. If every society of tribal nation wants to rebuild, they got to do it with their language, because their culture is in that language. And to hear that Comanche, I've heard the hymns, but again, I don't speak Comanche. It's just beautiful stuff that I hear. It's kind of like the Kiowa hymns. I hear those. I can understand.
Oh, yeah.
And those are things. Those are where our culture comes from. And being able to have those kind of things and goals in mind. So what do you think some future goals for like MMIW that you have that you're trying to reach, and especially with indigenous people? Because I see that you have something coming up here. You want to talk about what you got coming up here? Pretty soon.
There's a lot of stuff that we're having. So Thursday we're having a meeting so that we can talk about bringing in. So we have been having a platform for candidates for all tribes, just to come in and show who they are and talk about what they think is best, and maybe take on some questions. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about getting another type of culture, like there's a Hispanic culture here, there's Filipino culture, there's a Samoan culture, there's different ones that would come in and lead this coming Indigenous Peoples Day, and we'll support them. I think sharing that and pushing them into the light, you're only as good as your weak link, and let's make them stronger so that we can be all strong and have, this is really a diverse community. It's unfortunate that we have a lot of issues that come from our light-skinned brothers and sisters. And so what we want to do, we want to be inclusive. We want to show that we lead with love, we lead with understanding, we lead with truth, and we want you to just come in and be who you are. There's no judgment, and that's the way the Community Academy is teaching their children. There are no penal things that they do there. There's no expulsion. There's no suspension. There's no go to the office. There's no sit out in the hall, that kind of stuff. And so we're really trying to maintain our wellness through being healthy and making healthy choices. And if we can teach our children that, even through our events, then it helps everybody get to a better space. Was there something specific that you were saying that you were doing?
No, I know you and Dr. Peward. I seen something that you guys kind of advertised online. Was that like some kind of learning or something that kind of, yeah, I was kind of interested in that.
Well, on the 28th of January, we're just having we're having a birthday celebration, but it's really about us just getting together. Everybody, we put it online. You're all welcome. We're gonna do some hymn singing. That's gonna be all different tribes. We're gonna do some round dancing, and we're gonna have games and really just talk about this kind of thing is what we did in our tribes when we were before we were colonized. We put the children first, centered the women, and took care of business otherwise. And we did that together, right? And today we can do that in a good, kind way. And that's what we try to teach in a good, kind way is really the important part. But there's going to be other things. Like we're going to have a powwow. We already canceled it. So we're going to have a powwow soon, probably in March, I would think. And look for the candidate forums so that you can, keep abreast on all the things that are happening.
I know what I want. I back in the 90s when I was really young and living here for the first time, Cameron used to have powwow. I can remember a powwow. Parker Emerhula, Ralph Cote, a bunch of Edmund Tate, Navajoa, MGM singers. They were all out there. And that powwow, they used to have it, out in that field on I think it's the south side of Cameron. They used to have it in that field. They used to set up lights. Like, are they going to start having powwows like that again? Boy, howdy, I used to enjoy that powwow back in the day.
You know what? As Cameron University did, we put on a powwow 2 years ago, maybe 3. But we want to again. So we would look forward to doing that. We're just coming into the new year, new semester, and we're going to start planning. There's lots of things that we will do, and we'll put them out on, if you're not part of the Facebook page, we have Cameron University, CU, NASA on Facebook, and you can reach.
I'm going to have to follow because, again, I'll see all of these things. I'd love to get more involved and help spread awareness because that's the biggest thing we want to do is help spread awareness to these things that a lot of our people, we just need to ask more questions and start being more open and talking about some of these subjects because, again, society has broken our people down so much that we just aren't speaking up. But if we have a voice, we need to start using it. And today is the best way that we can start advocating. Because, again, I wanted to speak with you because all of these things, and it starts back to that learning curve. I learned something that day. I learned that in order to be good leaders, any of us, no matter what we're doing in life, we need to be able to be corrected and to listen and to make those adjustments because if we don't, we're going to continue battling each other. Wouldn't you agree? And we're going to start tearing each other apart. And that's where, I hear many say about the 7th generation breaking this curse. That's us. We got to start breaking these and start putting ourselves together and our tribes. The things that we involve, we got to stop saying, no, we got to start sharing and start protecting each other. That's my thought for that. And that's why I said I wanted to speak. And so how can we help? What other links do you have with the Woman Warrior Society? And share those links so we can always share those on our broadcast stage and hopefully maybe have some more of these topics with other ones who want to come in so we can help spread that awareness.
Absolutely. So you can reach, we have a Facebook page, Warrior Woman Society. When we're out at events, we go live, but there's sometimes we do raffles, sometimes we haven't been out lately due to COVID and people aren't quite really happy to get back out. You can reach us at Warrior Woman Society at yahoo.com. And for Cameron University, you can reach us at CUNativeStudent at gmail.com. And for Indigenous Peoples Day, we are at IPDLawton at gmail.com. And what else is there? Oh, you can always reach Comanche Academy for anything they're doing. They do have a Facebook page and a website. So I want you to know, you really, really made me feel happy about the fact that we have to listen, and even for me too, I have to listen in order to learn. And if I'm talking, I'm not learning. And I have to understand that people's feelings come first, and that I don't get to step on people's feelings. I don't get to disregard them or invalidate them. So we're down to validate people. We're down to push them above and get them going, just like you said. And we do need the media. The media, we are out of the books. We're out of the media. I mean, when I was in high school, the history teacher said, called a squaw. He said they were talking about squaws, and I said, I'm no squaw. He said, you know what? You can leave my room. And I did. I left school, never came back. And so that was the idea, is that I don't have to be like that, and neither do any of us. So thank you so much. And I would love to do more on specific things with you. That would be great.
Oh, what a great episode that was. Boy, howdy, we were talking with Cindy Famero. That was done the other day. We thank you for joining us. If you didn't know, you can find us streaming live as well on the radio player. Go to nativebroadcastnetworkradio.net. Again, that is nativebroadcastnetworkradio.net. There you should see our website. You can go and hit our contact page. You can go and be a guest on our page. You can even come and figure out how to support our page. Matter of fact, we'd like you to go to our anchor.fm native podcast network and join our page there and hit the support. Your funds and everything, your donations help us grow. We bring you more video. We bring you more audio. We bring you more great guests like that. Matter of fact, we'll get another interview going up. But, you know, I wanted to bring a few highlights out of the interview that we had with Miss Famero. It was a great one. Did you know that MMIW stands for Murdered Missing Indigenous Women? That's a very, very big topic of concern, not only here in the United States, but up in Canada. And there are different ones who are well involved in helping spread awareness of what that is, of missing and murdered Indigenous people. So I'm going to read a little bit of stuff. This is from actually the Oklahoma State Bureau.gov. Sorry, I've got all kind of things that I'm drinking and everything like that. No, I'm not drinking on the job. I'm coughing anyways like that. But anyways, when a loved one disappears or becomes a victim of homicide, grieving families are often left struggling on how to address the aftermath of these tragic circumstances. They may be confronted with planning for a funeral, determining who will take responsibility for minor children, or how to ensure a loved one's appearance and or murder is addressed. You know, fortunately, there are resources that are available to help families during these difficult time periods they face. So to make it easier, and all those who are in indigenous country here in Oklahoma, to make it easier for indigenous families to connect with available resources, the Native Alliance Against Violence has assembled a collection of state, federal, national victim service providers that can provide assistance for referrals with cases involving MMIW, missing murdered Indigenous women, or missing murdered Indigenous people. Another resource includes, in this list, are some of the state here in Oklahoma and federal statutes in places that concern MMIW and MMIP, which is missing murdered Indigenous women, missing murdered Indigenous people. So here in Oklahoma, you have the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. Back in 2020, they passed IDA's law that requires the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation to establish an office for missing and murdered persons once funding is secured to support this effort. So while the search of funding is underway right now, the OSBI has demonstrated their commitment to this cause by assisting agencies on missing and murdered Indigenous person cases. You have different ones in the OSBI. Dale Fine, who is a special agent and OSBI tribal liaison, he can be found at dale.fine@osbi.ok.gov. You have Christy Pana, the victim service coordinator. She can be found at victims.support@osbi.ok.gov. And then you can find Dale Fine and Christy Pana. Their email, they can be at idaslaw, IDASLAW, @osbi.ok.gov. These are some of the few resources that we want to give you and try to let you know about what MMIW is. They have many groups here. They have the Homicide Survivor Support Group. It's an informal group that meets with the OSBI Forensic Center in Edmond here in Oklahoma, and it's specifically focused on homicide survivors, where there are some who have participated when a loved one is missing. You know, I wanted to share some information too, since we're on MMIW. This is taken from the oklahoma.gov. So basically the mission, this is just the Oklahoma State MMIW chapter and their Southwest Oklahoma chapter. It says to advocate their mission. This is their presentation that they have, and you can find this on the oklahoma.gov website. Just kind of look for MMIW. And here in Oklahoma, they have the Oklahoma State MMIW chapters and their MMIW Oklahoma Southwest chapter. So their mission is to advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous families here in Oklahoma, to be in collaboration with missing and murdered Indigenous people chapters of Oklahoma, to collaborate with local, state, tribal, and federal organizations in the state of Oklahoma, and to bring awareness of missing and murdered Indigenous people. The vision of this, they advocate for the MMIP, the Missing Murdered Indigenous People, families in a capacity that supports their needs. The MMIP Central Chapter of Oklahoma will educate organizations in the state of Oklahoma and other capacities of the awareness of missing and murdered Indigenous peoples. They collaborate in activities with the Oklahoma MMIW chapters here in Oklahoma and a centralized database for Oklahoma. A board of directors to guide the MMIP Central Agency chapter of Oklahoma, and they to assist in a capacity to decrease the numbers of missing and murdered Indigenous people. So what is the history? Maybe you need to know some history of MMIP and what it's about, MMIW. And it's a very important history that we need to learn, because this is a big concern within Indigenous country today. Let me get my cameras focused a little bit better on me. So, sorry about that. So basically it happened and it started in Canada. It says a highway called the Highway of Tears, of 450 miles from Prince George to Prince Rupert. And I know I've had someone in the chat room talking to us in Canada and Toronto and up there, and this is where the story starts. It starts in Canada, a highway called the Highway of Tears, of 450 miles from Prince George to Prince Rupert. So from there were 50 women murdered on this highway, mostly Native American women. Sisters in Spirit held vigils to honor the lives of the missing and murdered. The Sisters in Spirit campaign was launched by Native Women's Association of Canada, the Noble Women's Initiative, 10/16/2012. So in 2017, Savannah Fontaine Graywind of Fargo, North Dakota, Spirit Lake Sioux tribe, she was 22 years old. Her unborn baby was taken from her body. She was murdered and put in a dresser and put in the Red River. Kayakers found her body in a plastic bag. It brought on an outcry in the Native communities, which it should have. And her story is like so many. As her mother called the police, it was not taken seriously. The Red River has found 1,000 bodies in a not so distant past. So maybe you want to know a little bit more about what MMIW what is the meaning of the red hand on the face and the meaning of the red dress? So the red hand, the meaning of the red hand, it's basically a symbol of keeping us silenced, but we are on the voice for the missing and murdered. Red is the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement campaign color, but red is known to be the only color spirit sees. It's hoped that by wearing red, they can call back the murdered spirit of our Indigenous peoples so we can lay them to rest. So I'm going to read you some statistics on MMIW. This is from 2015 to present, and this is pretty good numbers that we're going to read to you, and we're going to read all of them so you can kind of get an idea of what MMIW and the serious situation it is that faces Indigenous communities throughout Turtle Island. So when starting in 2016, there was 5,712 reported missing murdered Indigenous women. NamUs, National Missing and Unidentified Person Systems, logged 116 into the Department of Justice database. Murder is the third leading cause of death for American Indian and Alaskan Native women. Let me say that again. Murder is the third leading cause of death for American Indian and Alaska Native women. That hits home to me because that's a little bit close to what my family and some of us have gone through. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and they are murdered. Listen to this. Indigenous women are murdered 10 times higher than the national average. Let's say that 10-time higher murder rate than the national average. That's got to be something we got to start dealing with. So let's take it locally. Here in Oklahoma. Oklahoma has over 200 missing and murdered Indigenous women on the average of 18 new cases a year. 18 new cases a year. The men missing and murdered are over 150 cases. So there's men too. It's not just the women, men. And that's from the Oklahoma chapter's database, their Sovereign Bodies Institute. So here's another one. Here in the state of Oklahoma, it's rated 10th, not second, not third, not fourth, but 10th in the nation. There's 50 states in the union to be 10th in the nation for missing and murdered Indigenous women. That is a big number. More than 4 in 5 American Indian Alaska Native women that experience sexual violence in their lifetime. That's from the National Institute of Justice. So it requires the Department of Justice to provide training. So what is it, the Savannah Act? So here we have, those are some numbers. So here is a Savannah Act that became public law back in October 10th of 2020. What this law does is requires the Department of Justice to provide training to local law enforcement and law enforcement agencies on how to record tribal enrollment for victims in federal databases. They develop and implement a strategy to educate the public on the national missing and unidentified person systems, and they conduct specific outreach to tribes, tribal organizations, and urban Indian organizations regarding the ability to publicly enter information through non-law enforcement sensitive portal. Then they develop a regionally appropriate guidelines for response to cases of missing or murdered Native Americans. They provide training and technical assistance to tribes and law enforcement agencies for implementation of the developed guidelines and report statistics on missing and murdered Native Americans. And here's some more about Savannah Act bill. This bill authorizes the Department of Justice to provide grants for the purpose of 1, developing and implementing policies and protocols for law enforcement. Very important. 2, it's compiling and annually reporting data relating to missing and murdered Native Americans. And the next, federal law enforcement agencies must modify their guidelines to incorporate the guidelines developed by the Department of Justice. And the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, must include gender in its annual statistics on missing and unidentified persons visible in the website. And Statute 982, Public Law Number 116, 166, 1010, 2020, Not Invisible Act. That's what it is. It says the coordinator of federal efforts to combat violence against Native people. The Secretary of the Interior shall designate an official within the Office of Justice Services and the Bureau of Indian Affairs who shall coordinate prevention efforts, grants, and programs related to the murder and trafficking of missing Indians across federal agencies. Then established of the Department of Interior and the Department of Justice Joint Commissions on Reducing Violent Crimes Against Indians. The Secretary of the Interior, in coordination with the Attorney General, shall establish and appoint all members of Joint Commission on Violent Crime on Indian lands and against Indians in there. So that's a little bit of brief rundown. That's just kind of a little bit. Again, this is on the oklahoma.gov website. You can kind of see what they got going on with Native, missing, murdered, and indigenous people. But, you know, we want to continue to voice a little bit more about this topic. Not right now, but as we get more, we're going to go back and get some, hopefully, if there's advocates listening, we'd like to get you on the air. We'd like to talk to you and share some of these things, because behind the screen, that's what we can do. As you can see this screen, you can see live with the Native guy. You can see all this stuff right here. We'd like to put that up there for you so you can understand and share those thoughts and those topics that you need, because there's all kind of things that we have available and resources that we'd like to share and talk about, because this is a really deep subject for Native American communities, not only here in North America, but we know up in Canada and throughout Turtle Island that missing, murdered indigenous women, as we read, 10 times higher. That is an astronomical number. That is unfathomable. And that's a big word for me, so watch out. But, you know, we want to continue on the powwow trail, because we're not just here to bring you a Debbie Downer or anything like that. We just wanted to bring you some thoughts of what Native American communities are facing. Each of us are facing different types of issues going on within our own tribes and our own communities, and within our tribes and our communities. Sorry, you don't see me looking at the camera. I'm looking at what we can post up here. So we're going to play some music here in a bit. We're going to get back to the player, but I wanted to share some of that. And as we get a little bit more onto what we're trying to build and what we're trying to do, is we want to bring awareness on this radio program. We want to bring music, but we also want to bring guests and entertainers. We have some guests and entertainers too that we've been talking to. Hopefully, if you're a guest or entertainer, and those in the chat room on YouTube, thank you. We love you. Subscribe for more. We want to bring you on. As a matter of fact, I'd like to talk about some gaming, because I don't understand how to play a video game. I've watched my kids play Fortnite all the time, and if you're a Fortnite fan, shout it out, boy. Howdy. My kids got all kind of things with Fortnite, but I still don't understand that game. I'm trying to figure it out myself. But if you can help me learn, the biggest thing that I hate about Fortnite or any first-person shooter game is I'm not very good at it, so I'm an easy target to pick off. That's just so you know. Just so you know. I'm just letting you know. I'm not very good at the game, but I do know how to play. So right now we're going to get you a great guest, a great group of music here. We're going to play some Iyabe. It's one from the YouTube channel. We're going to give you some more, and just enjoy this. We'll see you back in a few minutes. Hi, child. Welcome back to Live with the Native Guy. If you can hear that in the back, I'm actually playing and streaming this. We thank you for listening and joining us on Live with the Native Guy. We hope you're getting a nice, warm cup of coffee. I seen one of the chants that I do. You're right. I needed my cup of coffee because, boy, Hattie, I was trying to talk and read words that whole time, and it just doesn't work when you don't have enough moisture to be able. God, that sounded kind of gross. Wait, y'all. That's how it goes sometimes. You get that way. You get that weird thinking. But I'm Live with the Native Guy. Hey, that's me. You see, I got my little hat on. It's kind of cool here in the studio. The TP Studio Ones in the plains of Oklahoma. You know what? It's been snowing. Well, it snowed a whole 2 inches here in Oklahoma the other day. And, man, I've never seen a whole state just go crazy over snow. You know, I've been here in this state of Oklahoma for a couple years, and I just learning a little bit about. I come from the state of Kansas, the great state of Kansas. Shout out to the Jayhawks in the land of Lawrence, Kansas, Larryville. Shout out to Haskell Indian Nations University, to all you students there. Onward, Haskell, baby. But, you know, I lived up there most of my life in Kansas. I grew up there. My father grew up there. He worked in education. My mom worked in education. So I've been around educators my whole life, but that story really isn't relevant to the weather story that I'm trying to talk about, because I've got here, lived in Oklahoma these past couple of years, and you know, it's a treat to get to see snow like I seeing outside here, Studio TP1. We get to see snow on the ground, and it's fun to go into these different chat rooms and these different local thoughts on how the snow, can they go sled and everything. And I'm sitting here, how can you sled in less than an inch of snow? You're mainly making ruts and mud, but you know, around here, it's a treat just to have that much snow. In Kansas, you know, we used to have snow. We go to the hills of Lawrence, and up at Kansas University, they have Campanile Hill and these other hills, various around there. One we used to call Suicide Hill. They put a big parking lot over there in Lawrence, Kansas. We used to slide down or watch those undergrad students used to make big old ramps. And, boy, honey, I remember as kids, we used to watch those police officers and everything. They just kind of camp out. The ambulance would be camped out down there. And they would basically, you know, be waiting for somebody to get injured, and so that's what happened. You know, I want to play this song. This is called Demon. Sorry about that. This is from one we've talked or visiting with. It's a new artist. We've been trying to learn a little bit more about him. We want you to take a look at it. We're going to play some new music. We want you to get used to this, and this one's called Demons from Mgizi. I believe is the name, is Mgizi Nodden. So if you're out there listening to Mgizi, we're going to play some of your music here. We want you, all of you who are listening and watching in the back, you know, to come and check it out. There's it is. The video is called Demons, as you can see. Demons. There's Mgizi in the back. We're going to play this video. You enjoy it, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes. Enjoy.
Just wanna be me and free. I just wanna be me and free. I just wanna be me and free. Just wanna be me and free. I just wanna be me and free. Get these demons off of me. Always creeping when I'm sleeping. They telling me what you thinking. They telling me to start drinking. Get these demons off of me. Get these demons off of me. I just wanna be me and free. I just wanna be me and free. Get these demons off of me. Always creeping when I'm sleeping. They telling me what you thinking. They telling me to start drinking. Get these demons off of me. Get these demons off of me. They say my thoughts have me bothered, and that's why I'm not okay, or I'm mentally unstable. But they ain't never seen what I'm bringing to the table. They got me spinning like a dreidel, got me thinking my life's a fable. I walk around feeling labeled, disconnected and distasteful, uncollected and disgraceful, reprojected and accepted. I don't need no one's acceptance. What I learned from my life lessons, now I'm counting up my blessings. Well, the haters keep on stressing with the boundaries they be testing. My style just keeps reflecting who they really wanna be, but they cannot mirror me. I get it from my family tree. I'm A-okay up in those swamps with Soxing, she keeps me calm. I'm twisting up some blunts to put some kush up in my lungs. I just wanna be me and free. I just wanna be me and free. Get these demons off of me. Always creeping when I'm sleeping. They telling me what you thinking. They telling me to start drinking. Get these demons off of me. Get these demons off of me. I just wanna be me and free.
I just wanna be me and free. Get these demons off of me. Always creeping when I'm sleeping. They telling me what you thinking. They telling me to start drinking. Get these demons off of me. Get these demons off of me.
I'm with the family in the jungle, gun in hand, we making trouble. Since a young man, I've been through struggle, but now I plan to make a hustle. With the man, plans never fumble. Do a scam, trying to get a bubble, trying to brag up another level. So in the end, we can all make double. That's how it is in the streets. Man's run on you with the muscle, trying to get bread using metal, like a dog without a muzzle. In the end, we all in the jungle. In this life, people harder to juggle, cause jealousy comes with a trouble. Getting money right out the rubble. Lot of homies, they all died. Both left me from side to side. It was really hard, I had trouble times. In my thoughts like I lost my mind. Do my foes, it's on sight. The side goes every day and night. My only goal is to end your life. From my soul up on the mic.
Just wanna be me and free. I just wanna be me and free. Get these demons off of me. Always creeping when I'm sleeping. They telling me what you thinking. They telling me to start drinking. Get these demons off of me. Get these demons off of me. I just wanna be me and free. I just wanna be me and free. Get these demons off of me. Always creeping when I'm sleeping. They telling me what you thinking. They telling me to start drinking. Get these demons off of me. Get these demons off of me.
Wait, y'all, that was Demons by M. Gizzy Nodden. We hope you're listening. Hey, I got a little bit bigger. You can see me now, a little bit bigger. Hey, I am the Native Guy. I am your host. I'm live here in TP Studio 1. We hope you're enjoying the sounds. We're going to keep music coming. We're going to keep going and playing some more for you. You know, we had some great different artists that we brought in before. We've had different guests. As a matter of fact, we might even play a video with Dr. Cornell Peeble. He was on here on the show the other day. We want you to watch that. He talks about this Native American teaching indigenous practice model. It's a 4-step model that you try to help teach indigenous cultures and learning uncolonizing your mind. And what does that mean to uncolonize your mind? Well, in that video, the Native Broadcast Network is had an interesting interview with Dr. Cornell, and so we want to play that for you here for a little bit, and then let you see what you think, and basically let us know if we want to get some kind of more into this. It's called Unsettling Settler Colonial topic. Basically, it's a great topic. We want you to go ahead and we're going to get that beer on screen, and it's with Dr. Cornell. So you enjoy this one. We'll be back in a bit.
Hey, welcome to another exciting day of Live with the Native Guy. I am your host, the Native Guy. We have a great guest today on the Powwow Trail. He is coming from the great Comanche Kiowa Nation. His name is Dr. Cornell Peeble. He's a professor of practice in the School of Education at Kansas State University, professor emeritus in Indigenous Studies at Portland State University, and vice chair of the Comanche Nation. He has a profound belief in the power of indigenous education and the power of higher education, and has dedicated his life work to bringing those two forces together to improve both. Dr. Peeble retired in 2017 from Portland State University, where he served as director of the Indigenous Nation Studies program. Prior to joining Portland State, he taught at the University of Kansas and was a 5-time recipient of the Big 12 Outstanding American Indie Faculty of the Year Award, served as the first Indigenous Academic Dean of the Comanche Nation College, and founded 2 transformational award-winning magnet schools in St. Paul, Minnesota. Dr. Peeble also began his career in education as an elementary teacher and principal on the Navajo Reservation in New Mexico. He's a founding member of the National Association for Multicultural Education, which brings together individuals from all education levels and disciplines from diverse educational institutions who have an interest in multicultural education. Throughout his career, Dr. Peabody has been honored extensively for his work, recently receiving the 2022 National Indian Education Association Lifetime Achievement Award for his commitment, dedication, and service to students, communities, and Native Education National Conference on Race, Ethnicity, Susan Harjo Systematic Social Justice Awards 2021, Educator of the Year for the Council on Indian Education 2021, AARP Oklahoma Indian Elders Honors Award 2019, Oregon Indian Educator of the Year in 2017, Portland State John Elliott Allen Outstanding Teaching Award in 2016, named Carl A. Grant Multicultural Resource Award 2011, and Portland State University's Diversity Award in 2011. So presenting the transformational indigenous praxis model for almost 3 decades at professional conferences across the United States, Dr. Peabody has applied his theoretical models to the work of educational practice, primarily using case studies with indigenous learner systems and structures in efforts to nurture indigenous epistemologies and ontologies for creating educational space for indigenous self-determination. Co-editor of this recent published book of 2022 with Teachers College Press, Unsettling Settler Colonial Education provides a sweeping portrait of case studies emerging practice towards decolonization structures in education. You know, Dr. Peabody, he continually remains locally engaged by generating a critical pedagogy of indigenous communities based on indigenous knowledge. He discusses strategies for community to inform, to heal, to uplift, and raise consciousness. You know, Dr. Peabody continues to serve his career throughout professional associations, including here in the city of Lawton Race Relations Commissions, the founder of the Comanche Academy Charter School, founder of the Indigenous Peoples Day in Lawton, Oklahoma, First American Museum Knowledge Keepers in OKC, a founding board member of the National Association for Multicultural Education, and the American Indian Studies Advisory Board. He's on the editorial boards of the Tribal Multicultural Education and the American Indian Studies Advisory Board. He's on the editorial boards of Tribal College and University Research, Wikaza Saw Review, Journal of Native American Studies Multicultural Perspective, and Multicultural Magazines. And it's our great honor to bring Dr. Cornell Peabody. Hey, thanks for joining us here in the Unsettling Colonial Education. We're going to flip that on the screen for you. Now, this is a book you kind of help edit and everything. It was others. So this book is actually presents the transformational indigenous praxis model. That's what you've kind of studied in all the years up to this point, as we've kind of learned. And it's an innovative framework for promoting, and I like how you say it because it's critical conscience thinking that we have toward decolonizing efforts among educators. And that's going to be a key thing we kind of want to reach with our listeners who hear. What do you mean, and what do we mean by this decolonization and colonization? How can we help listeners who hear this and understand what that means when we're teaching this model?
I'd like to just go back just a little bit, because this has a lot to do with identity construction, and who we are as Native Indigenous people. My name is Cornell Peabody. I'm a citizen of the Comanche Nation, but I'm also half Kiowa. Very proud of that, coming from the Colony family. And so when you have blended family, you begin to understand where you are, where you came from, and understand your story, your cultural story, and where you came from, how you got here, how you got to the location where we are here in the southwest of Oklahoma, and it helps you understand where you're going to go. And so that, to me, is an indigenous education. So in public schools, you don't learn all of that. And actually, sometimes when you ask questions, and I ask my students, where are you from? What that to me frames is a cultural perspective, meaning that to me, I know where I came from. But when I ask students, like when I was at KU, the University of Kansas, I had to ask them, where are you from? And they'd say, I'm from Topeka, I'm from Kansas City, I'm from Wichita, Kansas, I'm from Hayes, Kansas, I'm from whatever it may be. And then, sometimes they have the Kansas University on their sweatshirt. I refer back to them and said, so you're Kansas? He said, yes, I'm Kansas. So where are your people? Where are the Kansas people? She looked at herself. She said, right here. I said, okay, this is the cultural perspective that I'm coming from. So when I ask the question, where you're coming from, I'm asking a question about culturally, where are you coming from? So for me, when I say Southwest Oklahoma, that's where I'm coming from. I don't come from Kansas or come from anywhere else. But that's the framework where a lot of our mainstream students come from. That has to do with identity and identity construction about who we are. And so, as all my career has been spent in Native Indigenous education, and it's about creating identity, claiming who we are and where we come from. And that's probably the best thing you could do, because once you plan schools for the future, whether it be a Comanche-centered school, Kiowa-centered school, Apache-centered school, it's about identity. It's about identity construction. So the framework in education is about who are you? Why is it important for you to be Kiowa, to be Comanche, to be Apache in this day and age of the world? And education can help frame that. Public schools don't do that. Public schools tend to assimilate you to be like everybody else. And the social constructs are all about mainstream and all about speaking English. So it really takes away from the native way of teaching and learning, but it really moves into something very Eurocentric and defines what an outcome of the public school education is. It becomes very individualistic, very competitive, very materialistic, and Eurocentric. That, to me, the outcomes of public education. And for us and me and indigenous people, that's not what we're about. We're about teaching who we are as principled people, telling our story from the truth, and then moving forward into the future. So that's the reason why this book helped to shake up education against unsettling settler colonial education.
Well, I started thinking about when you said about the individualistic and things like that. In business, we study this Hofstede model. I don't know if you've read that, but it's a base model kind. It actually does research and forms ideologies and bases, kind of theorems on how societies form. And you hit the nail on the head. Here in the United States, we're a very individualistic society. Individualistic societies tend to only what can the person who I'm around and what can I get from. Whereas as you're speaking, when I hear about where Kiowas, Comanches, Apaches, the different tribes that are around here, we were at one time collective societies, and as a group, collective societies tend to what can we accomplish as a group? And for me, when I was hearing that, it's pretty interesting because this model, as I've kind of perused through some of this book, it also talks about educators who are complicit in reproducing ethno-stereotypes, racist actions, deficit-based ideology, drawing from decades of collaboration with teachers. It helps school leaders serving indigenous communities, children in communities, to help them better support development of their critical thinking skills. How important is that this model can help?
Sagi, what I've learned is that the generator of academic performance in school is high self-esteem. And so when you have teachers that teach with a deficit lens, that means that they're going to talk down to you. They're not going to lift you up. It's like when I went to high school. I got talked down to by the teachers and administrators, and then even when my high school counselor at Lawton High asked me what I wanted to do after I graduated from high school, I said, I want to go to college. I want to be the first one in my family forever. Not just first generation, I mean, forever graduated from college. And so, but that didn't seem to be the expectation for my college counselor or some of my teachers. And actually, he leaned over to me in the deficit lens and said, "Hey," he said, "do you know, Cornell, there's a VOTEC that's going to be built next year. And by the time you graduate, you might want to do that because you guys are good with your hands." And then another example, he said, "What about joining the Army like your dad? I mean, because you guys make good soldiers." And I thought to myself, and I did challenge because, my mind wasn't as critical as it is today, but that's such a deficit lens that many of us grow up, even today, being told we can't go on and perform in an academic and creative ways because of this deficit syndrome that we have. And so I try to eliminate that and try to actually count coup today, which means that I can go back and show my counselors, my teachers, that, hey, I'm going to show you my diploma. I'm going to show you this award because in my day, you said I could do this. And so I just count coup in every award that I win. I don't go and show it in their face or anything. I just put it in my house and display it, put it in my curriculum vitae so I can look at it and say, there was a day that my teachers and my principal said I couldn't even go to college. But I don't want any native child to grow up in that kind of way. That's why we need to uplift everybody and change the system and give them hope.
That's a pretty powerful statement you just said, because when you were saying all those things, there was this, that's what my teachers were telling me up in Lawrence, Kansas when I was a child. They were telling me I would be better working in a factory. I'd be better working hard labor. I couldn't go to college. But you also said something about those teachers who were actually there supporting, and I had those. And those are the ones who actually are the reason why I probably went to college. Because there are teachers who actually do care. They might not be able to say what the aha moment you just had. Because I thought some of the things that you described, I went through them the exact same time. And this is, this is not that old either, but just to think about that this is actually something that's going on for a long time. And this work that you have, about this book, we're talking about unsettling settler colonial education, the transformational indigenous practice model, multi-educational series. It's the editor is Dr. Cornell Peaworthy, and Elise. It was Robin Zape Tahola Menhorn. They are all ones who helped write this book, and lots of study and research into this book. So what are some of the information before we really start looking and getting an idea what this model is? What are some other things about unsettling settler colonial education? Because you just hit some key aspects that maybe some people like me, that was an aha moment that you just gave. I didn't ever think about that. This how do you say, deficit-based ideology? I mean, that, how can we get more to understand? Because for me, this something like that, simple to help others to understand that. That's an experience that even my children, I've heard some of that today. So it still goes on.
Well, thank you very much for those questions. I think that in retrospect, I look at my life and the way that I grew up, and it's not any different than many other children that are here, because most of us grow up in public school settings. And my concern is that if most of the Native kids grow up in public schools, who's teaching them? Who are the teachers? Do they look like them? Do they talk like them? Do they give them encouragement? Do they engage in ceremony for the things that they do? Or are they just ivory tower, just stay at school, just call home, things like that? That's not teaching pedagogy that I am used to, but it's kind that I desire to. And so when I sing a song or when I start class with meditation, it's all about decolonizing your mind. And so when I began to study more about decolonization, when I was a professor at the University of Kansas, I began to take models from social work and integrate what I already knew in multicultural education and put these models together that I knew that were empowering our people to be creative and teach from the string perspective. And so that's how I framed this model and put it together in teacher education, because I saw how many teachers were coming into the profession that were so unconscious about culture, so unconscious about their identity, and they were just espousing all those mainstream principles that I shared with you before, being individualistic, very Eurocentric, very competitive, and materialistic. Those things are not about a whole child. It's not about teaching an indigenous way. So I just thought I'd share that with you, that I brought professions together in models, because those teachers were, they kept asking questions and about why they had to take courses on anything that was ethnic. And a lot of those teachers, I call them pre-service, they were actually young students who were going to be teachers. They were from West Kansas, Western Kansas, and they said, Doctor, Huey, that, where I am, what I'm going back to, there are no students of color. Everybody's white. And I thought to myself, well, that's the reason why you need this course. You're not going to live there in a bubble for the rest of your life. Society is changed. We live in a global society. I wanted to prepare you for a global society, not stay in your bubble. And so that's where it was. That's the reason why this model it works, because it brings together case studies from early childhood all the way to higher education and adult education. They were all saying the same thing, that there's structural inequality in the classroom, in the strategic planning, that has nothing to do aimed at improving the academic achievement of Native Indigenous students. And it's mostly public school.
That's a key thing, because this book, again, we're going to key these words, challenges. It's a challenge. And the biggest thing, too, is it's going to challenge. Why do you need to challenge your community, the teachers and the public and all? Why do they need to be challenged to be engaged? Why is that an important part of this model to work?
This model is for everybody. It's just not just for Native teachers, but I think that the ones that own it the most are the Native population, because it becomes holistic. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to design a curriculum and schooling that is holistic, rather than something structural like American public schools, which are based on a military model, actually. And so we want to get out of that extinction of our people, education for extinction. That's what the Bureau of Indian Affairs started their boarding schools, but to try to liberate and give emancipation curriculum so we can get away from that by using this model, which is framed from a decolonized framework. And what I mean by decolonize is mean to go take away from a Eurocentric framework, not only just within the framework, but also in the language, and to try to move into your native indigenous language, whether it be very a dual language, moving towards immersion, so they can have an opportunity to reclaim your language and use that in teaching and learning for everybody. So that's really the model, and that's the challenge we have. And that's what's happening today with all the indigenous charter schools that are happening around the country. I just happen to be a part of the Comanche Academy Charter School, being one of the founders of that. But I'm also working with the new up-and-coming one for the Cheyenne Arapaho, and also the one in Oklahoma City called the Salford Community School. But the models are all the same. They're doing well, and across the country, they're outperforming the public schools by design, because they integrate a holistic model and they use dual language instruction at the same time. So that is a taste of success, but it takes us away from the Eurocentric design schools.
And that's what you want to hear, is success and building this model While we get you a little break here for a second, Dr. Peeworthy, this book we're talking to Dr. Cornell Peeworthy of the Comanche Kiowa tribe. He's a very distinguished educator. He's helped edit this book, Unsettling Settler Colonial Education, the Transformation Indigenous Practice Model that you see on the screen there. It's very, very challenging, and it challenges you, the reader, and those who kind of read this to understand what it means to not be so complicit to the things that are going on, how we've been taught. Because you brought about the militaries and things like that. What about the religious things too? You know, with the boarding schools, the churches, and them helping with these schools and everything. Is that kind of some of the model too that kind of helps key in with the holistic learning with the tribal, especially because again, those kind of things too that people, if they know their history well, the churches and those kind of work together. Does that kind of help with the holistic point of this book?
Yes, it does. I'm glad you mentioned that because it is also one of the barriers today. A lot of people, especially educators, don't like to talk about how they should confront the problems that we have, particularly in Native Indigenous education today, because there's this, I think, a religious hegemony, what I call the way that we try to teach, framed from our ideologies of religion, that is in place. And it started with the interrupting of our culture and our language, and that product was the BI boarding schools. They recruited our children far from home, and they didn't let them go home for years. I'm talking about the first one being Carlisle Indian Boarding School in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and then it sparked other ones. And all these boarding schools started from abandoned Army forts. And of course, there was no new construction for Indian schools back then. It was all anything left over, and so that's the kind of design that these boarding schools. So of course, there was no Native employees whatsoever. But you went in, your religion was changed. It was probably immersed either Protestant or Catholic, whoever the sponsor was from at that time. And then you were restricted from participating in culture, and by law you were punished if you spoke your language, tribal language, and you had nothing to do with ceremony at all. If you were found to do sing or dance, you were severely punished, and you would never go home. And so that's the story of the Bureau of Indian Affairs boarding schools that we're still grieving about today. So that caused this intergenerational grief, and it caused a soul wound within the nations, the tribal nations, and that's what we're trying to rebound from, and that's called recovery from intergenerational grief.
Powerful stuff, and as we try to recover, we kind of want to segue into this because it kind of goes into the transactional indigenous practice model. There's 4 steps to this, correct, that we have. And so I'm going to sit here because, again, the book that we're talking about, Unsettling Settler Colonial Education, it introduces this model as a structure that helps support educators in decolonizing and indigenizing their practices. It provides examples of how pathway making across a variety of settings take place. On the TIPM continuum, it highlights a diverse group of authors who are making contributions to the transformation agendas of indigenous knowledge. Actually, we're introduced to that right away in the book, which is pretty nice. It includes a brief agendas of indigenous knowledges and ways of knowing, a summary of the TIPM dimensions with examples of challenges that educators face as they expand their critical consciousness. It follows native oral traditions by sharing lessons, research, and personal lived experience. Sorry, it takes me a while to learn how to read. Identifies the deficit-based ideological underpinnings that frame indigenous students' experiences, and employs a metaphor of wave jumping to illustrate how educators working to decolonize their practice can gain forward momentum with time and energy while facing resistance. And that's some of the things that this model does. So we're going to pull that on the screen. This is going to be an awesome time because we're going to get to see Dr. Peeworthy kind of explain some of these
different models as we get this ready here. And let's take a look at this one now. This is the model that we're talking about. How wave jumping can speed up your transformational indigenous practice progress. So let's let people know before you get on screen what they're looking at here, Dr. Peter Wardy.
What this is built upon this teacher education model that I designed, years ago when I was at the University of Kansas.
Hey, this is a transformational indigenous practice model, and it has four dimensions: 1, 2, 3, and 4. The very top one is that very, I think, way up here. There's 4 dimensions, and the dimensions, what I call is the first one is, by the way, I put this together to help what I call conserve and save energy and time simultaneously. Just looking at how much time people have in their life. So this is the model that I tried to design. And it was influenced with my time that I spent in the northwest coast with the canoe tribes, because they say the high tide brings in the boats. I think that's what it is. So I looked at the metaphor, the canoe cultures, and how they work together in canoe culture. And then what I call these togetherness, I call them cohorts. How cohorts can work together and help engage in their critical thinking and challenges. So they're like study groups. So I have 4 of those study groups as they move forward. And the first one is a foundational approach, because all the education starts from the basic foundation, and then in sense it inclines to more critical thinking, because my theory is that the more critical thinking in theory will lead to practice. And so, but along the way you're going to get a lot of resistance. So note that on this design, the arrows are inverted. It means you're going to get resistance from the power struggles. Those that are in power and are individuals, structures that do not want you to change, they will kick back. The empire will strike back.
So what happens when you start that first part? How does the resistance begin? What are kind of some things or examples that they might, or something that you when you've done your research and then ordered the resistance, especially that first level?
Yeah, well, the first level is what I call the contributions approach. That's the dimension right here, where I saw a lot of teachers at the University of Kansas where they wanted to be in the classroom very soon, but I saw various traits that they had that challenged them to be an effective teacher in the classroom. Not just for Native kids, but for all kids, particularly of color. And so I really see this as a banking and holding approach. Banking meaning that you present information and you just regurgitate the information. So you're just following parroting what you just heard, but there's no critical thinking that goes to that. And I saw a lot of that have what I call holding. But my descriptors of that for these teachers at this foundational level called contributions approach is how they practice their classroom teaching and their knowledge base. I saw them that many of them had a captive or colonized mind, or even worse, it was a conquered mind that they couldn't think outside of the Eurocentric mainstream world, and they were unaware, unconscious of significant cultural issues in society. They were unreflective thinkers, and that they had a assimilationist behavior, in that their actions were ethnic cheerleading. Ethnic cheerleading is my term for like Native American Month, Black History Month, Women's Month, Taco Tuesday, things like that. You get to cheer on this ethnic group. This is one month, and then after that, they're off the hook. Same old thing on. That's what I call ethnic cheerleading. And then the race talk is happy talk, meaning they're polite, they're kind to each other. They don't really interrogate, get really into the I mean DYS, like this, functional. It means that teachers are so far removed from culture, sometimes they don't even know what's right and wrong. See, it's like when I see classroom teachers say, for example, they say, okay, children, let's get in a circle and sit Indian style. And I think, oh my goodness, please don't do that. And I'm thinking, so I have to coach with them after, class is over, take them to the side. And, what you said, you might not want to do that anymore. She said, what did I do? I said, well, it's a disconscious act of racism. He said, for example, would you say to these kids, all right, kids, hold hands, sit down, black man style? And they said, oh, I would never do that. Well, I said, come on, sit down, Mexican style, Asian style, sit down, white man style. She said, but Mrs. Smith, sit down. You should sit down. She said, oh, I understand where you're coming from. But she said, everyone says it in my family. But that's why I'm telling you. This is conscious racism. So they're naive. They just learn about that. So I'm just sharing you these traits, what I saw. And then there's the mindfulness is more connotation. And then just now discovering that they're decolonizing their novel mind. And then you move up to the next level, which is more critical thinking, which is additive from, and that's this point here, this level, this is dimension. And then they begin to analyze systemic and systemic understanding even more. Now I'm talking about individuals and teachers mostly. And then their approach to decolonizing, to deconstruct and change structural framework. Then they start to have a burst of cultural awareness, like, aha, I start to get it now. And then it tries to decolonize oneself, but without regular practice. Maybe they find a book, maybe they find a video or something like that they read, but they still embrace mechanical Eurocentric thinking with fixed structures that like cultural attributes of human living systems. And they begin to mourn, or they begin to become misty because they know they're coming out of a Eurocentric consciousness. And then, so the next level is even more critical thinking. That's the big part right there. That's the transformation approach, which is the paradigm of consciousnessization. And that approach is about liberatory pedagogy, and then you begin to practice decolonization at a regular basis. And a regular practice. You got a partner, you got a study group, and you do this all the time. And that's the third level. And it advances, and what it does, you begin to mentor other learners because you desire to decolonize their mind. And then you begin to dream of a decolonized world. That's called vision. And then the very top dimension is the cultural and social justice action approach, which is the transformation. That's when the approach to indigenous pathways of freedom, intellectual creativity, genius, virtues have become second nature, and then you become the teacher of the teachers. And then you become the protector of sacred knowledge. You engage in insurgent research. You have commitment to action. So those are the descriptors for each one of these dimensions as you move forward. And we work with them through cohorts, what I call cohorts, or metaphorically canoe cultures, or Indian society. And we used to do that, and we still do that. I mean, with the Comanches, our little cohort was called the Little Ponies, where the Little Ponies were clustered in ability grouping as the little ones, and they were channeled to different knowledge keepers because of their wisdom, and they became the young warriors of their time. They couldn't go on war journeys because they were too young and too naive, but they can stay behind in the camp to protect all the elders and the babies until there was others that came back to rescue them. That was the society. And the Rabbit Dance Society of the Kiowas in the same way. The Cheyenne Arapaho had the dog soldiers. And so these are clusters of societies that are very synonymous with these what I call these cluster groups or cohorts of modeling. So I'm using these kinds of associations to try to help understand that we cannot do this decolonization on our own individual self. We have to have a partnership. We have to have a cohorts like we traditionally were in as indigenous people. So that's just a real quick glimpse of how I unfold this model.
Thank you for explaining that, Dr. Peeberworthy. We appreciate that opportunity just to kind of understand and just explaining that there's a lot. Sounds like there's a lot of more information that just couldn't be fully explained. But again, that's why we wanted to kind of visit a little bit and kind of learn a little bit more about this book that is called Unsettling Settler Colonial Education. We've been talking with Dr. Cornell Peeberworthy. He's the vice chairman of the Comanche tribe, but he's been spent various long career, distinguished career in Portland State. I know him from KU. Very well-known singer, very well-known, and just supporting the education of growing our minds and helping other people to be able to do these, like unsettling settler colonial. Boy, that's a tongue full, Dr. Peeberworthy. Who come up with that? Let's get funny. Who come up with that? That's a tongue twister, but that's a good one.
Well, the editors from the Teachers College Press, where we published this, they said, "What do you want to call this model?" I said, "What do you want to title your book?" I said, "I want to unsettle these settlers." So I suggest unsettling settler colonial education. I want to shake it up. I want to shake it up and tell them the truth. I want to tell them that, the kind of education that we were designed, it was a design to extinguish us, to make us be like everybody else, be speaking English. And to me, it's about decolonization or extinction. And so this book is shaking it up, providing a decolonized model, not only for personal self, but also for structures, and try to design school systems, whether it be a charter school, public school, higher education, private college. There's this mechanism that this model can be done to empower those.
And this book, it's been out for a while. Can most people find these books in the bookstore anywhere? Where can people find this book?
Yeah, it came out summer last year, 2022, from Teachers College Press, and you can find them. I have a copy of the book at Amazon.com.
Barnes and Noble, I believe, and it's actually all over. And I would recommend many. I've had just a chance to peruse your personal copy. Thank you, Dr. Peeberworthy, for that. It's very, very eye-opening and very informational. Because again, as I was thinking about when we were doing this interview and talking about it, the tribes that are already using some of this model and how they've used it and come up to what this model has actually helped them to overcome and to achieve. And that's where some of the growth, like the bigger tribes that we know who relatively speak their language. And the challenges for those like our tribes, and I know the Comanche tribe is doing really well in their language, and the Kiowa tribe, we're turning the corner with our language, and those are kind of the things that, for me, when I think about this unsettling, that's part of that learning too, is our language. And is that a key part of that model as well?
It is, and you'll notice each one of these chapters, each one of the collaborators, the writers, they introduce themselves in their own language, and that's the reason why they did mine and everybody else. And then too, we don't have to subscribe to the very generic writing styles that are mandated many times, particularly in graduate school. So we really indigenize our writing style. We say, from the get-go, we have a notation, a caveat in the book that, we deter from the ABA writing format. We use rhetoric sovereignty. We talk in our own language, even if it is in English, but with indigenous thought. So that, to me, is decolonizing our writing style. And it's really important, particularly those that are serious in their studies, whether it be an undergraduate or your graduate studies, and how to decolonize your
appreciate that work that you do, not only for the students who are pursuing higher education, but for your own tribe, the Comanche people, for the things you do for the city of Lawton, we could sit here for hours, Dr. Cornell, and maybe we'll have to visit you and your group and bring them in and talk about some of the things that you guys have really done. Because in your bio, we had a chance to read, about the Indigenous Peoples Day, and I know we visited about that a few times, about how that was a struggle. So we appreciate you just taking time. I know you're a leader of your nation, too, but boy, howdy, that makes you busy all day, and just being able to visit with us and visit with our audience here in Native Broadcast Network to give us an opportunity to learn about these very important subjects that I think we do as Indigenous people. We need to start talking more openly about this.
I'd like to just conclude by just saying that reclaiming our knowledge base and our knowledge systems is really critical this day and age, because it's not only for us. It could be for all people we live without. But I think that as we are very unique, sovereign people, we can live independently, but still be a partner to our allies. And one thing about language acquisition is really critical. But it helps you make you who you are. If you are Comanche, the best thing to do is to learn the language. I'm learning it later in life. That doesn't mean that it continues. But the caveat, here's another caveat. Language is not only a part of the identity, but here it can be used against us. Here I have uncles that were told to not speak their language in the boarding school, but by the time they were like juniors and seniors in boarding schools, they were recruited and they went into the Army to speak their language and then become code talkers. And so think about it psychologically and spiritually, how that does to your mind, that you're prohibited for speaking your language. And now, when you have an advantage because you're in the Army, you become a code talker to speak your language. Awesome. So that does psychological damage to oneself. And that's what happened to our uncles, or even my father, who was a prisoner of war. So that's why we have to have a ceremony into doing the things that we do today. But language is not the definer of who we are. Because I know a lot of people that will use language against us. Like, even when people are like scouts, and they could use their language, but really not speak it in truth and with the spirit of that, and use trickery to do that. So I think language acquisition really comes from the heart. It has to come from the heart. And language is critical and important, but it's a lifelong journey for many of us that did not grow up in immersion, in even dual language household because of the tribalism that we hold.
Powerful words, and we thank you for that. I mean, there's no way to conclude but better than that. And the one thing is, like we mentioned, the challenge. This book challenges you. It challenges all of us to unsettling settler colonial education, the transformational indigenous practice model. It's one that you can find everywhere that books are sold, online or in stores. We thank you, Dr. Peabody, for joining us on the Native Broadcast Network, live with the Native Guy. That's me, I'm your host, and you have a wonderful day. Weecha! 40.
Hey, it's Lil Mike the Funny Bone. You listen to the Powwow Trail on the Native Broadcast Network. Dance your style.
Weecha, we thank you for joining us, and that was Dr. Cornell Peabody. He joined us in the studio the other day. As you can see, we're live with the Native Guy. That's me. I'm your host, the Native Guy. Hey, we want you to hit the support on Anchor.fm, as you can see above me, at the Native Podcast Network. As a matter of fact, when you go to the Native Podcast Network, this is what you see: the Native Broadcast Network. Dance your style on the Powwow Trail. And as you join us there, you're going to see all of our podcasts. You're going to see different things. You can even hit our Facebook page, as you can see it lighting up there. And you know what? Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast that you want? Well, you know, when I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had so many questions. How do I record my audio? How do I get my shows onto all the apps that people like to listen to? And how do I make money from just doing this podcast? You know what I found out? The answer to all of these questions is Anchor. Anchor is your one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and getting your podcast out there. And the best of all of this stuff here on Anchor, it's all free. Yes, it's free and it's ridiculously easy to use, and Anchor can match you with sponsors who want to advertise with you on your podcast. So get to anchor.fm. We've been podcasting on Anchor for some time right now. That means you get paid to podcast right away when you get there on Anchor. And you've been using it for, like I say, for the past few years. So if you're always wanting to start your own podcast, well, I invite you to go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters who are already using Anchor. That's right. You can get on there and start podcasting today at anchor.fm/start. Start, S-T-A-R-T, not Spart. I don't know how to spell today. And we can't wait to hear your podcast as you get on there. And as you see, you know, we are listener supported. We ask you to go over here to the anchor.fm. You know, you can do $99, $4.99. Any of your subscription helps us to grow our podcast and get us going out there. Matter of fact, we're always recording. We've got Native Smokes who comes in. He plays the gaming music hour, whatever he does. I don't know. He kind of does. He doesn't tell me. But we got different groups like Sir Smokes a Lot. We got Native Bongs. We got Native Smokes, Bongs, and Sir Smokes a Lot coming from Montana, Washington, and all over the place. But we wanted you to kind of learn about what we were doing. And don't forget to go and hit that support button. And when you hit that support, go in and contribute to the growth of the Native Broadcast Network so we can come out and bring you some more of these great programming that we want to do for each and every day. As a matter of fact, as we're going to get ready for another program here, we want you to look at what we got going on with the Native Broadcast Network. We're going to get you here to this great guest here. Hopefully maybe they can be on and we can talk to them and interact with them. This is one that's called Perfect Love from Lady Redneck. Enjoy this one. We'll see you back in a few minutes.
When others look at me, they see my flaws. The hurt, the pain, they see on my scars. He looks at me, he sees eternity. Who I really am and what I can be. I'm incomplete, God loves me completely. But I am imperfect, but He loves me perfectly. Perfect love, He's here. Perfect love casteth out all fear. Singing praises to His name, I'll praise Him all my days. I love His perfect love. I know His perfect love. A love supply is never empty. It's unconditional for you and me. Proclaimed by the sunrise, the trees, the wind, and blue skies. I'm incomplete, God loves me completely. I am imperfect, but He loves me perfectly. Perfect love, He's near. Perfect love casteth out all fear. Singing
same
But
company that
Perfect
reinvented river.
Love there by Lady Redneck. We hope you've been enjoying the sounds of Live with the Native Guy. We're getting your morning drive this morning. Matter of fact, let me get some of that stuff out of the way. Let me get you my backdrop. Let me get you some other things going on so you can see what we got going on here. We are live with the Native Guy. That's me, your host, the Native Broadcast Network. I am your host, the Native Guy. Hey, I don't know which camera. I have a couple cameras. I didn't bring the other ones on because, one, it's a little bit technical difficulties for me. I'm still trying to figure out how to do some of these things. But, I want to do I want to play this one here. That one was a good one that we had. It's by Superman. Maybe you've heard of him. He is one who's got a lot. He had over 1 million plays on this video called Prayer Loop Song. This one is called Why. It's had over 3.4 million views. It was brought out 7 years ago by Superman. It's one of those that we'd like you to enjoy. We'd like you to listen to. We're going to get it here on the air here in a second. It's called Superman Why. And as we get that ready to go, we want you to see what we have on the screen of, boy, howdy, where is it at? Now I got to figure out where my different screens are, and yeah, that's the one I want. And not all the time do I get these correct, because sometimes I'm still trying to figure out, because what we got behind me besides that big screen, and you can see me, we've got this big old screen that kind of gets colors and everything out, but when I play back stuff, it kind of gets some different things going on the screen that kind of adds everything out. But we're going to get this on here because this is a good video we want to show you. This is called Superman. This is Why, they say. So enjoy this one, and we'll be right back after this.
With all of the means, and why won't you follow your dreams? Tell me why, then I
Weecha, you can't even hear me. I have my hand on mute, but you see me on the screen. That happens. It happens. My bad. We're live on the Native Broadcast Radio Network. We're here in TP Studio 1. Basically, we're watching the snow melt right now. And as the snow melts, there's different things that are going on. I'm fixing this camera in front of me. You know, I might even try to bring you a different camera angle because we have these capabilities to try to bring different cameras. I'm going to bring you my different camera here if I can pull it up. We're going to see if we can get it set up here for you. That way we can get, I'm going to get rid of some of these different screens. That way, you know, we trying to get some different things going for you on the Native Broadcast Network. We want you to enjoy some of the things that we do. As a matter of fact, we want you to come and join us here on the Native Broadcast Radio Network. There, live with the Native Guy. You can see on that page what's going on behind you is the anchor.fm page. That's where all of our podcasts, that's where all of our interviews go. Anything with our guests, if they're live on the show, they get recorded into the system, which you don't see. It's actually on the other side of us. That is the anchor.fm/native broadcast or Native Podcast Radio Network. The actual page is anchor.fm/Native Podcast Network. That's where you can find us on the Anchor FM. And if you don't know, you can find us streaming on 11 different platforms here on the Native Broadcast Network. We are streaming not only on Spotify, but we're streaming on iHeartRadio. We're streaming on iTunes. We're streaming on Amazon Music, CastBox, all of these different platforms. There's 11 ways that you can find our streaming different podcasts that we've done, but we're also streaming live on the air on the Native Broadcast Radio Network, or it's actually called the Native Broadcast Network Radio.net. That's Native Broadcast Network Radio.net. That's where you can find our live feeds of what you're seeing on the screen. If you can't watch it, tell somebody. You can actually listen in and you can hear us. They might not be able to see what we're showing on the screen, but you can definitely hear us. And you know, one of the things that you're trying to do, if you like me was trying to figure out how to get your podcast going, then Anchor is probably the best bet for you, as it is it's a one-stop shop for you to get your podcast distributed to different platforms. You get yourself set up. You go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start. And you can get your podcast up and running, and you can get it streamed onto several different platforms. Like us, we're on Spotify. We're also on Amazon Music. We're on iHeartRadio now. We just got onto iHeartRadio. We're happy for that. We're on Google Overcast. We're on, like I say, go to there and look at the different 11 different stations that you can find our podcast and listen today. As a matter of fact, go over there and hit the support button. And anything that you do when you support, you donate to us, it helps us just to grow, to bring you more programming. And as a matter of fact, we're trying to get more guests on the air as soon as possible. We have been talking some different ones in our email. If you want to be a guest, email us at the Native Broadcast Network at gmail.com. Again, that is the Native Broadcast Network at gmail.com. You can come and be a guest. You can let us know. You can share files. You can share your anything, and we would love to have you on as a guest of our programming. So as we bring that out, you know, I was trying to bring out some of my different cameras so you can have a different angle of what we're doing. There we go. So I'm going to get this camera, try to get it set up. It's another pretty cool device. That way I might be able to show you what's going on here. And we'll see if we can get this going right now. You won't be able to see any of this that's going on right now. What I'm trying to do is to get some of this information going for you. Again, you're broadcasting live on the Native Broadcast Radio Network on the radio.co streamer
if you can find us there, you can find us at nativebroadcastnetworkradio.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts. There you'll find all of the things that we are basically trying to stream for you. And behind me, as you can see, I now am going to get this camera up. I've got another camera rolling for us. Maybe that's what it is. I'm trying to figure out. Again, we've got some new stuff we're working on here in our studio. And I'm trying to figure out which one it is. It's camera 2. So we're going to add camera 2 to you. You might get to see me in the background. You might not. But we're going to try to get you a different device on here. And we're going to show you what's going on. Actually, outside of the studio teepees of TP Studio 1, we're here. No, we're going to keep you on here. We're going to try to find the right source. We're going to get you on, and we're going to get you on this screen. That way you can see a little bit more close up of me, what's going on, how we've got it set up. We're going to do this here. We're going to get some filters on our screen. We're going to put some stuff on our backdrop. We've got all kind of cameras. Like I say, we've got a camera that's right in my face right now. And I'm not sure where it went. There it is. But we're trying to get this filters. Again, we're going to get a different effect for you. We're going to try to get you another camera so you can see the different capabilities we have here on the Native Broadcast Network. And it's not as easy as you're thinking, but we have, man, I don't even see myself on camera anymore. There we go. We're going to pull this camera again. Now we're there. And now you might see, I see myself in the video, but I don't see myself on the air. And that's what we're trying to do, is get this camera rolling so you can see us on the air. Oh, I see my camera. You see my hand showing you that camera. But we have another camera on here. It's a different device. There it is. Holy moly. Maybe that's why. We got to put some of this stuff up on different areas. Hey, there it is. So what's going on is behind me on this device as I try to get it set up for you so you can see the different angles of the Native Broadcast Network. You're going to see some pretty poor filtering on here as we have a green screen. And we're going to get some of this cameras out of the way real quick so you can see. And then we're going to move around with this other camera. So I am now, basically, I'm trying to get some of my information that's in the back. Hold on one second. So I've disconnected too. I've lost my headset. So I might not be able to hear what's going on. But there's some different things that you might be able to see. We've got the green screen rolling. We got a different camera we're about to pull up here. We're going to give you a different capability of what Live with the Native Guy can do on our broadcast page. And here we go. Again, I am trying to get some different things so we can make sure you understand. We want to bring you some cool professionalism to our stage. So there I am, as you can see, in the green room. That's me. I'm moving camera one. And over here, we'll get another camera rolling. And you can see me right there. So we have both cameras rolling. And what basically it is, again, you'll see some different things as my camera angle on this one will show you a little bit more of what's behind me. You can see my microphone. You can see everything in Studio TP1 again on screen. It looks a little bit different, but that's what I look like. There is me, both of us on screen. You can see me talking. I'm talking to this one, talking to camera 1, talking to camera 2. We have all kind of things that we got going on here in Studio TP1. We'd like to get different ones involved. As you can see, there's dual screens of me. Again, we are in our green room. As I'm here in Studio TP1, we're just trying to bring you some new information, some new stuff.
But if you can, go hit that support page. Go up there and bring us opportunity to get some more guests here on stage or into our programming. You know, we're going to go off the air for a little bit. We're going to stream and let our regular players stream. We're going to get some more music here later in the day, but we're going to take a little break. We thank you for watching us on the Native Broadcast Network for this first few hours. We're going to keep doing this every day. We're going to try to bring you new information every day, new stuff. We'll be back later on. We'll see you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching on the Live with the Native Guy in TP Studio One in the plains of Oklahoma. If you're just now seeing us for the first time, go hit the support page. Go hit the like page here. We're streaming on the YouTube Live. We're going to continue streaming live throughout the day. Various opportunities we want to bring you and different topics from Native America, First Nations people. And again, we are located live on the plains of TP Studio One here in Oklahoma. You have a wonderful morning. We'll see you back.